The world awoke on March 8, 2025, to an unsettling headline. Turkish troops were deploying to Ukraine. This was no ordinary military exercise. This was a unilateral decision. Turkey, a NATO member, had acted without the consent of its allies. The European Union was equally blindsided. The world held its breath. What had Erdogan wrought? This was a bold power play. Turkey, strategically positioned at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, had long walked a tightrope. On one side, its commitments to NATO. On the other, its complicated relationship with Russia. Now it seemed Turkey had chosen a side. Or had it? The situation in Ukraine was already a tinderbox. Russia's incursion had plunged the region into chaos. Global powers watched with bated breath, fearful of a wider conflict. Turkey's sudden involvement added fuel to the fire. The ramifications were potentially seismic. Had Erdogan just rewritten the geopolitical rulebook? The seeds of this audacious move were sown in the hushed halls of power in Ankara. Secret meetings had taken place, away from the prying eyes of the international community. World leaders, their faces etched with concern, had converged on the Turkish capital. The stakes were high, the negotiations tense. Details remained scarce, shrouded in a veil of secrecy. But whispers leaked out, hinting at a high-stakes diplomatic poker game. Turkey, it seemed, had played its hand masterfully, leveraging its unique position for maximum impact. The timing was impeccable, coinciding with a clandestine meeting in Istanbul between high-ranking US and Russian officials. Was this a coincidence, or a calculated move by Ankara to exploit a fractured geopolitical landscape? The world could only speculate about the promises made and the threats delivered behind closed doors. But one thing was clear. Turkey had orchestrated a diplomatic coup, placing itself at the heart of the Ukraine crisis. The question was, could it control the forces it had unleashed? What drove Erdogan to make such a bold move? Analysts pointed to a confluence of factors, a potent mix of ambition, pragmatism, and opportunity. Turkey, under Erdogan's leadership, had grown increasingly assertive on the world stage. It sought to expand its influence beyond the constraints of NATO, reasserting itself as a major regional power. Control of the Black Sea was paramount. This vital waterway, a conduit for energy and trade, had become a flashpoint between Russia and the West. Turkey, with its strategic locations straddling the Bosporus and Dardanelles Straits, held the keys to the Black Sea. By deploying troops to Ukraine, Erdogan was sending a clear message. Turkey would be the arbiter of its own destiny, charting its own course in the turbulent waters of geopolitics. But there was more at play than geopolitical ambition. Turkey was also driven by economic imperatives. Securing long-term energy supplies was critical for its growing economy. The conflict in Ukraine had thrown energy markets into disarray, threatening Europe's energy security. Turkey, with its pipelines and strategic location, was well positioned to become a key energy hub, supplying both Europe and Asia. The Ukraine crisis, for all its dangers, also presented an opportunity for Turkey to solidify its role as an indispensable energy partner. Russia watched Turkey's moves with a mixture of apprehension and anger. The Kremlin found itself in a strategic quandary. A direct confrontation with Turkish forces would be disastrous, risking a wider war with NATO. But acquiescing to Turkey's presence in Ukraine would be a bitter pill to swallow. It would be an embarrassing blow to Putin's prestige, undermining his image as a strongman. The war in Ukraine had already proven costly for Russia. The casualty figures were staggering, the economic sanctions biting deep. Ukraine's fierce resistance, bolstered by Western military aid, had defied expectations. The conflict had exposed vulnerabilities in Russia's military might, denting its image as an invincible force. Turkey's gambit had put Putin in an untenable position. He could escalate, risking a wider conflict he could ill afford, or he could back down, accepting a humiliating blow to his authority. Either way, the consequences for Russia were dire. The Kremlin had been outmaneuvered, its strategic options dwindling with each passing day. Section 5. The West off balance. The reaction from the West to Turkey's surprise move was a mix of shock and confusion. The United States and NATO, caught flat-footed, scrambled to assess the situation. France and Germany, wary of Erdogan's increasingly authoritarian tendencies, expressed their displeasure at Turkey's unilateral action. The transatlantic alliance, already strained by internal divisions, faced a new test of unity. The United States, while acknowledging Turkey's right to defend its interests, urged restraint. The Biden administration found itself in a delicate position. It needed Turkey's cooperation in containing Russia's aggression, but it also had to contend with growing unease among NATO allies about Turkey's reliability. The European Union, heavily reliant on Turkey for energy and migration control, adopted a more conciliatory tone. Brussels recognized the need to keep Ankara on side, but it was also acutely aware of the risks posed by Erdogan's unpredictability. Turkey's move had thrown a wrench into the EU's carefully calibrated approach to the Ukraine crisis, forcing a reassessment of its strategic priorities. Section 6. A bridge too far? Turkey's relationship with Russia had long been a source of concern for its NATO allies. Ankara had walked a tightrope, maintaining close economic and energy ties with Moscow while simultaneously supplying armed drones to Ukraine and closing the Turkish straits to some Russian warships. This delicate balancing act had now been upset by Turkey's decision to deploy troops to Ukraine. The move risked alienating Russia, a crucial trading partner and a major player in the Black Sea region. It also raised questions about Turkey's commitment to NATO and its willingness to toe the line on Western sanctions against Russia. Erdogan's gambit was a high-stakes gamble. It had the potential to reshape the geopolitical landscape of the Black Sea region, but it also carried significant risks. If Turkey overplayed its hand, it could find itself isolated, caught between a hostile Russia and wary Western allies. Section 7. The Arsenal of Ankara. Turkey boasts the second-largest standing army in NATO, a formidable force equipped with a mix of modern and legacy weapon systems. Its defense industry has undergone rapid modernization in recent years, with a focus on developing indigenous capabilities. Turkish-made drones, such as the Bayraktar TB2, have gained a fearsome reputation on battlefields around the world, showcasing Turkey's growing prowess in military technology. With over 370,000 active personnel and a sizable reserve force, Turkey has the capacity to deploy a significant military contingent to Ukraine. Its armed forces are experienced in conventional warfare, counterinsurgency operations and peacekeeping missions, having seen action in Syria, Iraq and elsewhere. However, any military intervention in Ukraine would carry significant risks. Russia's military, despite its setbacks, remains a formidable force. A direct confrontation between Turkish and Russian troops would be a dangerous escalation, with the potential to spiral into a wider conflict. Section 8. A New World Order? Turkey's audacious move has sent shockwaves through the international system, raising profound questions about the future of global power dynamics. The post-Cold War order, already under strain from rising nationalism and great power competition, has been dealt another blow. The rules of the game are being rewritten, and the outcome is far from certain. Turkey's actions signal the emergence of a more multipolar world, where regional powers are no longer content to play by the rules set by the West. Erdogan's gambit is a stark reminder that the old certainties of the Cold War era are gone. The world is entering a new and unpredictable phase where the lines between friend and foe are blurred, and the price of power is higher than ever. The crisis in Ukraine has exposed the fault lines in the international system, highlighting the limitations of traditional alliances and the challenges of managing great power competition in the 21st century. The world is watching, holding its breath, waiting to see what the future holds.